Yeah. All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to gang cut I joists using a chainsaw with the Foot Headcutter XL. This guy just bolts right onto the chainsaw. We can also cut angles with it. So let's jump in. And here is a close-up look at the Foot Headcutter XL. Their original one was a lot smaller. We worked with them to make it bigger. They added a handle, etc. Now there's a couple things I want to mention. One, it just bolts, clamps on to the bar of your chainsaw. Make sure that before you start the chainsaw that you pull the chain to make sure that it will not hit the metal base. I know some guys that have cut the metal base with their chainsaw. Not this one, but you want to make sure that there's enough room that it slides freely. Bolt it on nice and tight. Before you bolt it on, sometimes it's good to wipe the oil off. Okay, let's do take two because cordless chainsaw did not work. So we're just gonna take a tiny bit off of this. Okay, so let's get into the process. This is a batch of 12-foot I joists that go in the garage. My number is 137 inches. That means that I can make a cut on both ends, and I checked to make sure that I didn't need to beat those straighter. I'm gonna go ahead and just T-square across the top, and then I'm gonna use my rafter square, and I'm squaring down the side. Now, squaring down the side is gonna help me to adjust the chainsaw, and the line across that's square will just help me stay square, and then I can pull a parallel number. So what I'm doing right here is I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna adjust the bar on the chainsaw so that the cutting teeth are on the left side, my left side of the line, and that it's equal. And I'll show you at the end that we're within a 1/16 of an inch. Now, I have to offset my 2x4 guide because of the base plate on that chainsaw. Okay, off of the line, 8.5. Once I had the bar square to the material, then I went ahead and just marked the edge of the head cutter. Eight and a half. Okay. This is just me, but this is one last check to make sure that it's nice and square. I tweak it just a little bit. That's why I marked that vertical line with the Martinez square. Now I have confidence that with the guide in place, that the bar is where I want it to be and it's nice and square. Pro tip, before you attach the head cutter base plate, start and run the chainsaw. And that way it'll just start right up for you when it's all attached. Let's talk about safety. Now, I have my hearing protection, have my eye protection, but I'm not wearing chaps. If you've seen previous videos, I wore chaps. Why am I not wearing chaps in this video? Because I forgot. And they're in the van. I just got into a rhythm and I forgot them. Now, notice that the bar, the saw is leaning. I find it's just easier if it leans into the one cut while it finishes the other. You can also see from the camera angles that I am off to the side. Why am I cutting with the top of the bar? Directs the chips down and it helps to pull the saw through. See how I'm out of the way? I'm not worried about kickback because there's nothing to cause kickback. To answer a couple of the other questions that might come up, what kind of chain? That is a chisel tooth chain. It is brand new. I keep that. If I know we're doing tree work, then I take the chain off. I like to keep my chains for framing nice and sharp. You could see a little bit of tear out at the bottom of the cuts. Some people whine about that. It doesn't shred the flange on the I joist. You can see the tear out at the bottom. To me, that is a complete non-issue, but for other people, I'll show you a close-up of the cut as we get going. Okay, let's get into the other side, and I will show you a little more closely how to calibrate everything. Okay, 137. Because I used the T-square across the top at the other end, I know that that is square across, and I used the Martinez square and I squared down. So the saw and the base plate are square. Now I just need to go parallel. So I'm gonna mark 137 roughly at each end. And just because, I don't know, I think as I get older, I've lost confidence in myself after making lots and lots and lots and lots of mistakes. Oh, just because I can, I'm going to. Scribing the line does not need to be done. I'm doing that because that's something that I know I'm going to line up the bar on the chainsaw with. But now I'm going to go through the process again. So let's watch closely. I am parallel 137 inches, and I'm just marking the top and bottom flange. I don't need to mark the web. And I'm just going to verify, is the chainsaw still square? And I can at the same time then mark the edge of the head cutter or of the base plate. This is one of those double check yourselves twice. I have walked around and see the chainsaw itself is not perfectly centered in the base plate. So you can't just flip the saw because it's not the same 8.5. I know a guy, a good looking guy in Nick's boots right there. Yep, that guy who has done this more than once.
Should be 8.5, right? Yeah. Okay, 8.5, 8.5, 8.5. Oh, come on, seriously?
I had a feeling when I sent the drone up, I had like, what, 26% of the battery, but I thought I could get this done quick enough. But it went ahead and landed, or tried to land itself at about 16% battery. I would have had enough, to be quite frank.
Apparently I had less battery than I thought I did. No, it's been, there's been so many times where all of a sudden I see it out of the corner of my eye, heading over to land. Okay. So these guys should all still be going, I think. I have like the world's longest guide because it was just one of the studs. Okay. Hey, not too bad.
One note of caution, you might have noticed that the saw seemed like it was leaning more on this cut than the first one. It was. Remember that the saw, if we've maintained it well, the saw is feeding oil, right, to reduce the friction of the chain going around the bar. That does, no matter how tight we get it, that will cause the saw to kind of push on an angle. So if I have more cuts to make than this, I'm going to go ahead and straighten it out.
I'll take that. Not bad, look at that. Man, I don't want to brag or anything. Kind of do. Man, I don't want to brag or anything. Nice and square. Would have only taken 10 minutes. The electric chainsaw didn't work. Beautiful. Okay.
Now, obviously, the head cutter, the chainsaw attachment, it's not going to be the right thing to use in every case. But if you have big runs, like for example here, we have all 46 rafters. By centering that LVL, remember that's the Roseburg rigid lamb with the column in the middle. This is all going to support garage slab, linked above. We did this next door, so we know the process. By centering it in the walls on the inside, 137 inches. You know, some of those hangers I got a little too tight. Kyle, by the way, is standing on a plank that is supported by Bronco sawhorses. We've been using those since I think 96. 96, 97, something like that. Finally broke them. You can just see it off to the right. There's the legs of the broken one, but the pipe. So there's the proof. We've been using them a long time. Now life gets easy, right? Kyle has something to walk on. Gage is able to just boom in. They're going to move over to the next one. Once these guys get set, they are all exactly the same length. If we're careful in our framing and we're careful in our cutting, then we get to take advantage of economy of motion. So in a previous video, we had the hangers being installed. That's all done before the beam is set. That's a lot easier, reduces a lot of ladder work. Also, it's easy one-person work. Second, now Gage gets to just boom in so the material is literally not being handled until now. We pick them up off the lumber truck, we set them down. We put them on racks, we cut them. We pick them up and drive them over. This is the first time that we are actually physically touching those joists and moving it. Just think about that for a minute. 46 joists with a cut on each end is 92 cuts total. 46 times we would have pulled out our tape measure and then of course our square for each end. 92 times. Instead, we pulled 2 measurements just to keep it parallel and we made 2 cuts. And here is the floor all finished. It is a thing of beauty. Kyle and Gage have done an outstanding job. There's all those rafters in the garage. That's going to support a garage slab. Link. Thank you so much for following along. If you don't mind, hit that like and subscribe button, and please leave me a comment. What have you found to be the most efficient way to cut I joists, and are you willing to use a chainsaw? I think that you should, especially with I joists. Anyway, we will see you in the next video. Thanks for following.